Welcome everyone to this online town hall event for the Early Career Research Fellowships in Cultural and Heritage Organisations. My name is Joanna Norman. I am Director of Research at the V&A, and the reason that I am chairing this session is because I lead the current cohort coordination and development team working with AHRC on running this fellowship opportunity. It's really great to see you all this afternoon. I have some slides that I am going to share, and the first thing that I'm going to do is just to run through the timings and the welcome for this afternoon. So here we are. Can you see that? Yep, great, super. So we've got quite a tight agenda, but I just wanted to make sure that you all know who is on the call and who's going to be speaking this afternoon. So you are going to hear with short presentations from Andrea Bond, who is Senior Investment Manager for Skills at the Arts and Humanities Research Council, which runs this fellowship opportunity. You're going to hear from me briefly, talking about cohort training and development, and Eloise, who works closely with me. You're going to hear from a fellow, Aparajita, who is one of the pilot cohort of fellows doing this this fellowship at the moment. She's based at Royal Botanic Gardens, Kew. And you are going to hear from colleagues from different independent research organisations who are welcoming fellowship applications. So the organisations you're going to hear from in this order are Museum of London Archaeology, MOLA. You'll hear from Emma Dwyer. You'll hear from Jack Hartnell at the National Gallery. You'll hear from Charlotte Bolland at the National Portrait Gallery. You'll hear from Kim Balukiewicz from Tate, and then you will hear from me in a different capacity, which is as the V&A. So apologies that I'm wearing two hats this afternoon, but hopefully it will be clear what I'm talking about when. So just very briefly on structure of this afternoon's session. So we are running until 5 o'clock. We will have a short comfort break at around 4:25 p.m. So in a second we will go we'll go straight into presentations. You're going to hear, as I say, from Andrea first from AHRC, and then from me, and then from 3 IROs in turn, and then we'll have a Q&A after that. We know that's quite a lot of information, so please feel free to type questions into the chat as you go, or save them up for that Q&A point. We'll have a comfort break at that point. Then we'll have a brief presentation from Aparajita about her experience of doing the fellowship now. And then you'll hear from the final 2 IROs before we have a final, hopefully 15 minutes if we've run to time, for any further Q&A. Eloise, do you want to just go through the housekeeping points?
Yep. Sure, thanks, Jo. So yes, as Jo mentioned, we are recording the town hall, and recording will be made available afterwards. To limit background noise, I'm just asking if everyone can put themselves on mute, unless asking a question during the Q&A sections. All the speakers' presentations will be available afterwards, as well as the recording. And finally, after the town hall, I will be emailing a link to a voluntary EDI monitoring form. This is an anonymised form, and it will be held by the V&A and used for any evaluations done for the programme. Thanks.
Great, thanks very much, Eloise. So without further ado, I will hand over to Andrea Bond, who is going to present on the fellowship opportunity. Andrea.
Thanks, Jo. I'm just going to pull up my slides. So hi everybody, as Jo highlighted, my name's Andrea and I'm a Senior Investment Manager working within the AHR Skills team. I oversee the, or I am overseeing the Early Career Fellowships and Cultural and Heritage Institutions Round 2, and I also oversee the Collaborative Landscape Awards and Collaborative Doctoral Partnerships. My presentation is just going to give you an overview of the ECR scheme and the requirements. So we're excited to launch the second round of our early career fellowships and cultural and heritage institutions, following on from the pilot. So the scheme is designed to support early career researchers working within the UK's vibrant cultural and heritage sectors. As I've said, it builds on the success of the pilot round, and it offers individual fellowships hosted by independent research organisations, enabling talented researchers to deepen their expertise and contribute to the sector's knowledge base. It also includes a cohort-based programme of networking events and career development activities, fostering collaboration, peer support and long-term professional growth, which Joe will talk about shortly. And our aim is to strengthen research capacity within IROs, support career progressions for early career researchers, and foster a vibrant, connected community of cultural and heritage research professionals. The scheme reflects our commitment to nurturing talent, promoting innovation, and ensuring long-term sustainability of research, culture, and heritage sectors. But, you know, the scheme is first and foremost people-focused, which is why we've chosen the image of seedlings growing. It symbolises growth, care, and potential. So at its heart, the fellowship is about nurturing early career postdoctoral researchers, giving them the space, support, and opportunity to develop professionally within the UK's rich cultural and heritage landscape. And the key objectives for the fellows are to create meaningful opportunities for early career postdoctoral researchers to build, deepen, or broaden their experience of working in and with major cultural and heritage organisations, and then to develop their skills and future research careers in ways that align with the work, collections and practices of their host organisations. Through this, we aim to support not just individual career progressions, but also the wider research capacity and sustainability of the sector. As you can see on the slide, objectives for the host are, or we hope that the fellowships will deliver high quality and impactful research while enhancing the host capacity in areas which are closely aligned with their research strategy and will lead to practical benefits and outcomes. And then we also hope the fellowships will bring meaningful benefits to the wider cultural and heritage sector, firstly by addressing a well-recognised need for more dedicated support at the early career stages of research careers, and something AHRC is committed to supporting. And secondly, by promoting equality, diversity and inclusion principles and helping to build and diversify the sector's research capabilities. And finally, by supporting broader societal engagement, strengthening the cultural and heritage sector's contribution to culture, society and the economy. So moving on to the practical side, candidates must be based in the UK or eligible to work here, for example, through a visa. Show a clear commitment to working with the cultural and heritage sector. This will be important when hosts consider supporting your application. Either already be employed or have confirmed offer of employment from the host for the duration of the fellowship. That is particularly relevant to the full proposal stage. Be of postdoctoral standing, which I will explain over the next slides. And finally, each applicant must address one predefined research area from a host IRO and submit one expression of interest as specified in the funding opportunity. Just to note, the fellowships could use methodologies, theories, approaches and tools from any discipline or a combination of disciplines if it's an interdisciplinary project. So as long as the scope of the project and the overall approach are within AHRC's remit. And just to note that there's details of our remit can be found within our research funding guide, particularly page 89 to 95. So if you do have any queries, or if you and the host have any doubts whether your project includes a sufficient element of arts and humanities to be funded by the AHRC, please submit a pre-application remit query through our website. And I think, yes, on the slide, there's a couple of links there for you. The eligibility criteria in terms of postdoctoral standing, candidates must meet one of these criteria at the time of the application. So you can self-identify as an early career researcher working in the arts and humanities research space in accordance with AHRC's guidance on training and developing early career researchers in the arts and humanities. So that is a document that is available from our website. Importantly, AHRC defines early career status based on funding history, not job title or years since PhD. Alternatively, you may qualify if you have up to 6 years of postdoctoral research experience or up to 6 years in roles where research was a major component. So you don't have to meet all of that criteria, it can just be one of them. And then just a quick note on eligibility for those finishing their PhDs. If a doctoral candidate has passed their viva before the expression of interest application deadline and only needs to make minor corrections, then they are eligible to apply. However, if the corrections are substantial and require reassessment, then they won't meet the eligibility criteria unless that reassessment has been completed by the expression of interest deadline. Also, when considering eligibility timelines, please note that any career breaks, for example, due to family care, health reasons, or in COVID impact from things like homeschooling or furlough, this can all be excluded from the calculation. So moving on to the host, they must be an independent research organisation eligible to receive UKRI and AHRC funding. A list of that can also be found on our website, and conduct research within the AHRC's remit that is in areas suitable for arts and humanities research. Each host must provide a supportive research environment for the fellow. So just to unpack that a little bit, it should include things like line management, strong commitment to quality, diversity and inclusion, access to mentoring, relevant training, collections and facilities, overall support for the fellow's career development. The host must also commit to employing the fellow for the full duration of the award. And then finally, we strongly encourage hosts to follow the principles of the Concordat to support the career development of researchers, to ensure fellows are well supported throughout their journey. We also encourage partnerships that enhance the fellowship's experience through skills training and research collaboration, and have therefore provided the option for hosts to co-host a fellow, provided one host takes the lead on employment and managing the fellowships. This allows for flexible arrangements that can benefit the fellow and the institutions involved. Applications involving multiple host organisations are welcome. If this applies, like I just said, one must lead on the employment and managing the award. The application must clearly specify the activities at each host, and it should clearly explain how the arrangement benefits both the host and the fellow's career development, and that all host organisations involved must be listed in the application. Additionally, host organisations may also choose to partner with other UK cultural and heritage organisations, universities or international organisations. These partnerships do not need to have IRO status, and they are optional. So when we're thinking about partnerships in that sense, you know, an example of that is a non-IRO may wish to consider collaborating with an IRO host to offer activities such as placement opportunities. So this type of activity would enable the fellow to spend part of the fellowship with the organisation, for example, to work on a specific collection. And just to note, if those types of activities are included, costs incurred through placements can be included as part of the funding application. If a partnership is included, a letter of support must be submitted. This all is relevant to the full proposal stage, and this should outline the purpose, commitment and added value of the collaboration. Moving on to training and development. So fellowships will include a dedicated training and development programme designed specifically for the cohort of fellows participating within this scheme. It builds on the successful model delivered during the pilot phase by the cohort coordination and development team at the Victoria and Albert Museum. And the programme will include sector-specific skills training, panel discussions, networking activities to foster peer learning and cohort identity. So it's been designed to support career development, inclusive participation and engagement both within and beyond the cohort. Just to note that most activities will be delivered online with some in-person events, including a residential. And this bit's really important. That it is AHRC expects fellows to engage with this programme. So, you know, based on the information from the V&A, activities are averaging around 0.5 days per week. Further details on the current programme is available on the V&A's Early Career Research Fellowship page. So I'm just going to run through the dates, then explain exactly how to apply on one of the next slides. Fellowships can last between 1 and 2 years, longer if part-time. The expression of interest stage is currently open and due to close on the 10th of December. So we hope this is a generous amount of time for potential fellows to discuss their ideas with potential hosts prior to submitting an expression of interest. The V&A will provide you with further details on the requirements and the timings of the expression of interest stage. And just to note that the timeline for the full proposal stage will be published when the funding opportunity timeline is finalised. So this is expected to be in early 2026, most likely February. Following the full proposal stage, we expect all fellowships to begin on the 1st of January 2027, unless exceptional circumstances apply, for example, on EDI grounds. So we strongly encourage applications from individuals who are underrepresented in the cultural and heritage research sector. So this includes ethnic minorities and disabled people, though this is not an exhaustive list. Applicants may choose to disclose personal characteristics, however, disclosure is entirely optional. And then further details on how equality, diversity and inclusion are being considered in the expression of interest phase can be found in the Equality Impact Assessment, which is published on the UKRI Funding Finder page. So moving on how to apply. Firstly, each candidate is advised to read the Funding Finder text in detail to check eligibility and ensure they have a clear understanding of the requirements. Secondly, we have a list of the areas of interest provided by participating IROs. So please read that document and consider which of these areas are resonating with you and your background, and then approach any relevant IRO to discuss further. We've also provided a list of relevant contacts for each IRO on the funding opportunity page. You can approach multiple IROs to discuss potential fellowships. It's really important to note that you can only submit one expression of interest form to the scheme. You will find all of the additional documents referenced in the presentation under the additional information section on the Funding Finder opportunity page. So that brings me to the end of my presentation, so I'm now going to hand back to Jeff.
Andrea, thanks so much. And just to remind everybody that if you have questions, please save them up for now, and we will come to them at the end of this part of the meeting. So I am briefly going to speak about the cohort coordination and development. So first of all, just to say that we are a team of 3 based at the V&A. So I lead the team. Eloise, who has organised today, is our amazing project coordinator. And then our third colleague is Oliver Cox, who is head of academic partnerships at the V&A. So we're based within the V&A Research Institute, but we coordinate this scheme and work with the fellows, their hosts, and with AHRC colleagues to ensure that the programme runs as successfully as possible. We're responsible for 3 main areas, and I'm going to talk about the first 2. I'm not going to talk about the last one. So supporting the development of fellowship proposals through the expression of interest phase, which this is part of. And then the second is the design and delivery of the cohort training and development programme. And I'm going to speak about that one first. So as Andrea said, it is one of the key elements of this programme is that alongside the independent fellowship project, research project that each fellow undertakes, there is a training and development programme that we have designed for this specific cohort of fellows. There is a real focus on research within the cultural and heritage sector that we aim to make applicable whether fellows have previous experience of our kinds of organisations or whether they're coming to it for the first time. As Andrea said, the time commitment is approximately half a day a week. Most sessions take place online with some key milestone events in person, and we will choose the location of those events once we know the geographical distribution of the different fellows. We are conscious of time taken to travel and not wanting to expect everybody to necessarily to come to London. And then mentoring and peer-to-peer learning are 2 other components of it. The pilot programme that we have run so far has included essentially 3 types of events: seminars that perhaps have been more themed or challenge-based, which have really been about familiarising the fellow cohort with specific issues, trends within the cultural and heritage sector, with contributors from different organisations within them. Workshops that have been on quite practical but wide-ranging issues, such as how to navigate complicated institutions, how to work with communities, and then practical sessions on things like budget and project management, career pathways, funding opportunities, etc. It's worth saying that with the 2-year fellowship programme in mind, we very much designed and delivered the first year of the programme. We had to put all of that in place before the fellows were appointed, but the second year has very much been in response to the fellowship cohort, and we've obviously been evaluating that as we've gone along. Mentoring, peer-to-peer learning, and a responsive grant scheme to enable fellows to develop new ideas, a seed fund that enables them either individually or together to work up new projects with an intended life beyond the fellowship scheme are also part of the programme that we have run so far. And as Andrea said, you can find out more at the Early Career Research Fellowships page on the V&A website. The image I'm showing you here is just a set of links to blog posts that we have put on that page, many of which relate to training and development sessions that we have run or issues that the fellows have encountered. So now to talk briefly about developing a proposal, just following on from what Andrea was saying. You can find all the information about the opportunity on the funding finder. You can find out there which independent research organisations are participating and are looking to host fellows, and you can read about the priority areas of interest that each organisation has identified. As Andrea said, there is a contact list for each organisation, and we really encourage you to get in touch. You'll see on the funding finder that there are certain common areas of interest across the different independent research organisations that are participating. I would encourage you to read that text and really digest it. Some of those themes are to do with unlocking heritage, underexplored collections and places. Some of them are to do with the applications of creative technology or heritage science to better understand and conserve collections or sites. Some of them are to do with sustainability and resilience, particularly around climate change. And some are to do with future practices in cultural and heritage organisations, whether those involve digital technologies, responsible AI, provenance research, co-design, or other forms of creative research. It's a general paragraph that you'll find on the funding finder. So what you should then do, as Andrea says, is go to the additional information section where you'll find this spreadsheet, which gives you more information about each individual organisation. And obviously you're going to hear from some of them shortly. Do bear in mind that these are the priorities that the organisations have identified. And so these are the priorities that they're looking to host fellows in. As I say, the sheet, the list of contacts for the different IROs is also under that additional information section. Please don't leave it too late to get in touch. Hosts will be having concurrent conversations with potential applicants, and it will take them a bit of time to respond. There's often a process. They will often be fielding inquiries from potential fellows and trying to match them up with relevant colleagues, subject experts inside their organisation, and that can take a bit of time. So please do get in touch as early as possible to discuss your ideas. We have 2 more of these town hall events. If you're keen to hear from some of the other organisations that are involved, I've given you the details here. We are, as Eloise says, we're recording and we're sharing the presentations from all the town halls. We did one last week as well. So if you need any more information, we're uploading things to the funding finder. Eloise is also going to be putting together a Q&A document to share the commonly asked questions and responses to them, which we will endeavour to do as quickly as we can after the town halls have finished. So just a final reminder of the timeline. So we are now in this expression of interest phase. So you are strongly encouraged, if you're thinking about applying for this, to get in touch with a potential host independent research organisation and to find out those contact details from the funding finder. Between now and the 10th of December is your opportunity to discuss your ideas and the fit with those organisations, and whether that is by email or it's through a call. And then 4 o'clock on the 10th of December 2025 is the deadline for the submission of expressions of interest, and those should be sent to Eloise. Again, all the details are on the funding finder, but just to make sure that you've got a reminder of that. So that is our role in brief, and those two areas. So I am now going to hand over to 3 colleagues in turn, who are each going to speak about what their organisation is looking for in this scheme. So first of all, I'm going to hand over to Emma Dwyer from Museum of London Archaeology, MOLA.
Thank you, Jo. I'll just bring my presentation up on screen. There you are. Hopefully you can all see that. So I'm Emma Dwyer. I'm Head of Grant Funded Research at MOLA, which stands for Museum of London Archaeology. A little bit about MOLA, first of all. We began as a department of the Museum of London, which is now the London Museum, back in the early 70s as a team of archaeologists working on sites in the City of London and Greater London. And since that time, we've grown to become one of the UK's leading archaeology and built heritage practices. We've got over 400 archaeologists and specialists in various other related fields, material culture and osteology and so on. And those specialists work across the country and are based in our offices in London, Northampton and Stansted in Essex. After being a department of what's now the London Museum for many years, we became an independent educational charity in 2011 and became an independent research organisation status in 2014. So despite the name, we're not a museum, and so people do often ask if about working with museum collections with us. So we're not a museum, but we do have lots of collections and live sites and projects and so on, and that's what we're particularly interested in working on. So there are 4 priority research areas. I'm going to summarise very, very quickly. The first of those, number 1, is thinking beyond the site. So thinking about archaeological data and the synthesis of that data. So we'd really like potential fellows to think about taking advantage of the data that's generated by the complex archaeological projects that we work on, and we work on a wide scale, from HS2 and big road schemes to office sites in the City of London, uncovering Roman and medieval archaeology there. We'd also be interested in fellows who are thinking about the scale of different kinds of data that's available for study, and to be thinking about how they can work with our exceptional body of staff, with all of those diverse areas of expertise. The second priority research area that we're interested in is thinking about sustainability, ecology and the environment. So thinking about intersections of different branches of environmental archaeology, thinking about for example, modelling and mapping of ecological and environmental change through time, changes in land use through time, and geoarchaeology as a discipline, and also thinking about contemporary concerns for climate action and sustainability. So what can archaeology, what can the study of the past bring to our understanding of the present and the future in terms of climate and climate action? Our third priority research area is new futures for archaeology. So this is thinking about how we can apply a creative and speculative lens to archaeology as a field of research, practice, and interpretation. It's perhaps thinking about archaeology's contribution to the Anthropocene, to thinking about how humans are responsible for changing the nature of the planet geologically in the last decades and centuries. So thinking about archaeology, how archaeology can contribute to well-being, and thinking about what a decolonised, development-led archaeology might entail. It's also, we're really interested in thinking about alternative approaches to storytelling. Archaeology is really about telling stories about the past and the present, and also thinking about citizen leadership in research and public engagement. So actually, who's responsible for those stories that we tell? Who takes ownership of that? And we're also interested in making innovations with visual and sensorial practices, helping to conceive radically different futures for the discipline. What are the practices that we bring into archaeology? And our final priority research area is thinking about digital data and archives for collective benefit and immersive and interactive production. So that's thinking about the data that we produce and their infrastructures, making sure that those are fair. So that's making sure that data is findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So what does that mean for how we undertake archaeology? And finally, thinking about how we can use that primed data to experiment with our outputs, what it is that we end up doing, the differences that we end up making through archaeology, and how that supports social, emotive, reflective, climate accountable, and sustainable outcomes that draw on what the digital world is able to do for us. In terms of what we're really interested for researchers to bring to MOLA, we're really interested in how applicants can think about how they contribute to MOLA's wider research culture, for example, participating in our staff-led research groups, and also working with our AHRC Collaborative Doctoral Partnership students, and sort of being sort of part of a community that's looking to shape the future direction of research at MOLA and more widely. And we're really interested in fellows who think about how their research can generate impact, change beyond MOLA and archaeology more widely, and so they'll have an opportunity to apply for more opportunities and funding to work with colleagues and external partners through our AHRC Impact Accelerator account, for example. In all, MOLA's research is rooted in practice, and we're really interested in applicants who combine academic research with a practitioner background, and we really place that value on candidates who have an experience in archaeological and heritage practice and community engagement, as well as those academic qualifications. Anyway, if you want to get in touch with me, that's my email address there, and the QR code will take you to the page on the website that we've set up. It's got the address there. That's got more information about these priority research themes and what we're really interested in looking for in potential applicants. Thanks very much.
Emma, thank you so much. That was great. So now we are going to go to Jack Hartnell, who from the National Gallery.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? And can you see the screen showing there? Great.
Yes.
So lovely to meet you all virtually. My name's Jack Hartnell. I'm the head of research here at the National Gallery. And as many of you will already know, especially those who are interested in working in this area, the National Gallery holds the nation's collection of paintings and has done so for more than 200 years now, with the aim specifically of engaging many different kinds of audiences and publics, both specialist and non-specialist, first-time visitors, all the way through to experienced professors, ultimately with the story of painting in its very broadest and defined sense. Just a little bit again about the gallery. It's a small, but I think really extraordinary collection of only about 2,400 works of art. But we, in our site in Trafalgar Square, are home to many other different related collections, which we would really welcome early career fellows to enliven and engage with in all sorts of different ways. So as I say, a kind of premier collection of fantastic paintings, but also a massive institutional archive, which thinks about the long history of the gallery and its kind of creation through an act of parliament more than 200 years ago, as well as libraries of rare books around the histories of painting in very broad definition sense. We have enormous photographic collections, which stretch back to images taken of paintings in the 1920s, 1930s. We've had a Department of Science for nearly a century now. And so all sorts of photographic collections, which we're really keen and researchers here are constantly trying to enliven and engage with. We also are sites of really cutting edge practice-based research, especially in heritage science. We have organic and inorganic chemists, scientists of various kinds on our staff, as well as an extensive conservation and restoration teams who are always working on our paintings. We're a space for contemporary artists and have curators of modern and contemporary art practice. This is a shot from a recent sort of cross-national series of performances by the artist Jeremy Deller that culminated in this massive parade that went through the centre of London, up Whitehall. We're also, I would say, a space for digital experimentation in how all of this work is presented. I'm showing you here a nice still of one of our catalogue pages currently online, thinking about how we can animate the presentation of this work to different kinds of audiences. It's also just very briefly worth saying that this is a particularly exciting time for research at the gallery, and we're really keen to welcome an early career fellow into really a kind of new and growing research culture, not just in terms of how the gallery is connected, but also on the ground. So I'm showing you here what will be, on the right-hand side, a newly refurbished and regenerated in many ways research centre that the gallery will launch in early 2028. It'll have everything from a new seminar room, refurbished libraries and archives. Our artist in residence studio is going to be based in the research centre as practice-based, producing kind of practice-based research. And so any fellow that's based with us will be located in there, sort of in the beating heart of research in the gallery from 2028 onwards. In terms of the four research areas, just to very quickly lay them out, I thought I'd just put the headlines up there on the screen and speak to them so that you can kind of see them in context. We're really looking to work with researchers who can support, in particular, as I say, these four strands of our research. The first thinks about exploring and, in particular, contextualizing the gallery's collections and its histories. So that might be very broadly defined in terms of exploring the worlds of our artworks, artists, art movements and practices represented. And in particular, we're really interested in people who can help us with fresh perspectives and new narratives that engage the collection. So that might be, for instance, thinking about the place of women artists as a big strand of research currently at work in the gallery, thinking in that direction in relation to the legacies of British slave ownership. The gallery, of course, founded before abolition. Interested in representations and interpretations of sacred art, many Christian, but also other religious objects in our collection. And really also actually individuals who are going to help us interrogate the institutional histories of the gallery and other kinds of institutions like it. So based around the gallery's collections, but also closely relating to others in the UK and internationally. We're also interested in early career fellows who can help us use and engage heritage science as a really big strand of what we do to better understand and care for our collections. We have many colleagues here at the gallery who apply heritage science in a multidisciplinary way on research groups of many different kinds. We have special interests, especially in evaluating and developing a range of existing new technologies and methods, especially around 3D imaging of many different kinds, but also interests in hyperspectral and multispectral imaging, in X-ray fluorescence and other kinds of technical imaging. Also, scientists and early career scientists who would be interested in working on material science from our material reference collections of resins, pigments, paint films, and also our large-scale archives of samples and painting samples, how they might be energized and enlivened in new research directions. We're interested, just that third point, in researchers who might help us explore the sustainability of our practices or the relationship of our practices across the gallery in terms of sustainability. So many colleagues here are undertaking new work to develop sustainable collections care in response to and in the time of climate change, everything from air handling systems and humidity and temperature controls to protecting paintings against pollutants in a more technical way, but also how galleries and museums might themselves be much more sustainable in our practice, everything from transport, environmental controls and monitoring, but also maybe how histories of environmentalism in relation to the gallery or other galleries might help improve and deliver practical improvements to how we do things today. And then lastly, that fourth point, we're really interested in engaging with researchers who want to explore and enhance the gallery's really next generation of curatorial practices and digital collections and digital practice as well. So these are projects that might help us think through, and indeed many others in the sector, rethink how we display our paintings for different audiences, both online and in person in the gallery, through temporary exhibitions, through permanent exhibitions, and permanent exhibition practice. And also think about, not just, as I say, in person, but also online, how we might develop maybe new opportunities to digitize our works in a responsible way, to develop engaging those works with different kinds of audiences in new, interesting ways, with everything from school children through to research professionals using augmented reality, AI, and other kinds of cutting-edge technologies. Really, just to echo what we were just hearing from Emma and MOLA, that we're really keen on individuals who want to be part of a community. We like to think of ourselves as a very broad, multidisciplinary community here. Our historians, curators, archivists, librarians, material scientists, conservators, digital humanitarians, really across the spectrum. And so we're looking for someone who is really keen within these areas and their broad relation to the gallery to slot into really a kind of communal way of thinking and developing our gallery at this exciting moment for research here at the National Gallery.
Jack,
So
many
thanks very
thanks.
much. I'm just going to, there's my slide if you want my email.
Super. That's great. Thanks so much, Jack. And then finally, before we move on to some questions, we are going to hear from Charlotte at the National Portrait Gallery.
Great. Has that all come through?
Yep.
Good. Great. So the National Portrait Gallery tells the story of Britain through portraits, using art to bring history to life and explore living today. Founded in 1856, we're responsible for the greatest collection of portraits in the world, spanning from the 16th century to the present day, and we really celebrate portraiture as an art form. Research takes place across the gallery and underpins work undertaken by all teams, particularly relating to the fulfilment of our core responsibilities for the care and understanding of the collection, our statutory duties, and engagement with audiences through multiple platforms and activities. And so the areas in which we'd like to invite expressions of interest for the development of a fellowship proposal align with the gallery's strategic objectives, which are to extend our reach to a wider and more diverse audience, to maintain relevance, to be an innovative and entrepreneurial institution and gallery that is fit for the future. And so each of the areas that I'm going to talk about just now would involve working with a different team at the gallery, coordinated by me as Senior Curator for Research. And I'd really like to take this opportunity to stress that we really welcome the chance to develop proposals that involve collaboration with partners beyond the gallery, be they IROs, universities, or we're really interested in partnership. So, that didn't work. Let me just go across there. There we go, try that one. There we go. So for, where did that just go? I'll go this way. Apologies. Does that come through? So for applicants interested in proposing collections-based research projects who have experience researching British history or art history, the gallery's focus for this funding call is on our collection of 20th century portraits. This collection is digitised but has not been catalogued in depth, and proposals could examine the collection through the lens of sitter, artist, media. And the holdings of works up until the outbreak of the Second World War are particularly rich, for example, providing the opportunity to examine creative networks such as the Bloomsbury Group, Camden Town School and New English Art Club. And so relevant holdings can be identified through the collections page of the gallery website. For applicants interested in proposing heritage science projects, we're just going to go this across here. Sorry. The gallery would particularly welcome proposals that explore the impact of decarbonisation technologies on heritage sites and collections management. The gallery is currently working to reduce its carbon footprint and move away from gas steam boilers, which currently provide heating and humidification for the main gallery building. And so as part of this work, our conservation team are really interested in research into predictive modelling in order to assess environmental parameters for display and storage spaces. Next one, that the gallery's digital team are eager to work on proposals that use AI data modelling to enhance search functionality and engagement, looking to really integrate information that goes beyond traditional cataloguing metadata. The gallery aims to make our collection and stories accessible to people everywhere, breaking down barriers in exploration and engagement in order to enable people to discover and explore the collection based on their own lived experience and identity. And so the team is interested in ways to make use of the gallery's credible source data to provide a new level of engagement to visitors via the online collection. And so we'll be looking for applicants with sort of experience working on experimental AI models or on projects that enable users to explore collections more intuitively using conversational natural language. And then finally, we're also interested in proposals that use portraiture to provide new perspectives on British history, culture and society through participatory research. Inherent in the gallery's vision is the ambition to invite visitors to connect with a relevant and representative story of Britain. And as an institution, this requires us to be critically engaged with the questions: which people, whose story of Britain, and from whose perspectives are we connecting with its history and exploring living today? And so we're committed to approaches that foster meaningful connection, celebrate civic pride, and engage communities in shaping the histories that define them. Proposals could involve collaboration with cultural partners, artists and communities to co-design creative research approaches. And so for past examples of collaborative projects exploring these questions, do take a look at the gallery's website for information on the project Citizen UK and People Powered. So there you go, a lightning overview, but I really look forward to hearing from you. Do get in touch.
Charlotte, thank you. And thanks again to Jack and to Emma. So we've got about 6 minutes for questions before we take a brief comfort break. And thanks to all of you who have been putting questions in the chat, and to Andrea, who has been answering them. There are 3 that I have seen that I don't think have been answered yet, so we could start with those. The first one is about part-time fellowships, and the question is whether anyone is welcome to take a part-time fellowship, or are there particular criteria? And the particular circumstance would be to undertake a fellowship without leaving a 0.5 role at a current institution. Part-time absolutely is possible. We have 2 part-time fellows at the moment, and in fact Aparajita is one of them. So combining a part-time fellowship, say a 0.5 fellowship with a 0.5 other role, is absolutely possible. The second question was about specific outputs. Is there any sort of requirement, expectation that a fellowship leads to a research output publication of sorts? And if so, are there specifics regarding this? Andrea, is there anything from an AHRC perspective that you would say on that, or do you want me to respond?
No, I don't. Yeah, not. If you respond, Joe, because I don't think there is from our perspective.
No, I mean, like any research project, you do need some outputs, but what those are is for fellows or applicants to discuss with their host, because they might be more traditional academic outputs, but they would obviously, and as you've just heard from colleagues in different organisations, they might be much more outputs that are sector facing. So they might be toolkits, they might be new kind of policy documents, or for example conservation protocols and so on. So exactly what the nature of those is absolutely up for discussion as to what's most appropriate for the proposal and for the host organisation. There was a question about how do you define, Andrea, I think this one is for you, if you don't mind. How do you define equivalent professional experience and skills if you don't have a PhD?
So I've just popped a response in there, but this is typically interpreted as having a track record of research and or creative practice at a level comparable to somebody who has completed a PhD. So anybody who is applying who doesn't hold a PhD but has quite a lot of relevant experience, it's really for them to demonstrate that in their application. So I would suggest that you have a discussion with the potential host that you wish to apply for to get their perspective on it. But, you know, I think providing you can show a track record of, you know, the experience that you've had, then work with the IRO on that. And then if you get to the next stage, submit the application.
Great, thank you very much. Then there's one about does the IRO offering to manage the fellows' employment need to fall within the 23 selected IROs? For example, could a potential applicant submit an application with Historic Royal Palaces, one of the 23, in collaboration with a university, while being employed as a research fellow at the university and not HRP? So I think that's a kind of two-part question. I'll answer this, but Andrea, please chip in if if there's anything you want to add. So yes, the employer needs to be the host, which we say is the employer, needs to be one of those 23 IROs. So it's perfectly possible to submit an application with Historic Royal Palaces in collaboration with a university, but the expectation is that the fellow would be at HRP, because the whole point is that the fellow is embedded there. Now, some organisations may be able to offer that as a secondment from a substantive role, but that is very much on a case-by-case basis per institution. I think it's fair to say. Andrea, is that anything else on that? Yeah. Okay, great. And then Andrea, how many fellowships, are you able to say how many fellowships you're planning to award?
No, actually, I think last time we ended up allocating, I want to say 8.
It is 8, yes.
It
was 8 last time round. Yeah.
And I think we were hoping to you know, award at least 10, but it really depends on what happens with the applications that come in and the assessment process.
Yeah. Great, thank you. And then one more, I think, just to clarify, collaborations could be with at least one IRO institution and another organisation, university, institution, etc. And where have the ECFs thus far landed? So to that first part of your question, so basically the baseline is that a fellow needs to be based within one IRO institution. So there doesn't need to be an additional partnership. It doesn't have to involve another university or another kind of organisation, although that is perfectly possible. But fundamentally, it's a fellow based within one of the 23 independent research organisations. In terms of other collaborations, those are entirely possible. So do discuss those with the IRO host as to what might work. Where have the ECFs thus far landed? Probably best to have a look at the Early Career Research Fellowships page that Eloise has shared the link to. There are 8 at the moment. There are 2 at Kew, 1 at the Botanic Gardens in Edinburgh, 1 at the British Museum, 1 at the Natural History Museum, 1 at the V&A, 1 at the Imperial War Museum, 1 at Historic Environment Scotland, and I think that's everyone. Don't think I've forgotten anyone, but maybe I have. And then we have a final question. I'm a 4th-year PhD student based in Delhi. Are there any opportunities for a student like me? I think, unfortunately, eligibility, Andrea, do you just want to remind the point about eligibility and submit it in terms of the PhD submission?
Yes, unfortunately, there isn't any other kind of opportunities available for early career researchers or current postgraduate students. It's quite difficult, but the requirements for this scheme is that you need to have passed your Viva by the expression of interest deadline, and there's reasons behind that. Relates to the fact that it's even though the fellowship will start in January 2027, the assessment process required for both stages needs to have enough time for that to be done in a fair and transparent way. So by the time the expression of interest stage is completed and the assessments of that give you the applicants that are being submitted to the full proposal stage. The full proposal stage then won't open until February, and it has we have certain requirements where it has to be open for a certain length of time to allow enough time for people to apply. So it's really important that the Viva has been passed by the EOI date to allow that whole process to happen, because if we left it until the stage in which you were to start the fellowship and unfortunately you didn't pass, then the IRO wouldn't be able to submit another application.
Yeah, thanks, Andrea. I know we've got another couple of questions, but I'm also conscious of time, so I'm going to suggest that we take 5 minutes now. So we'll come back at 33 minutes past 4, so 5 minutes from now. We will try to continue responding to questions in the chat, or we will pick them up at the end of the session. So see you in 5 minutes. Thanks very much.
Eloise, can you see the presentation?
I can.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay. Thanks. Sorry, I'm a disembodied presence, but I chose to share the presentation instead of my camera at this stage. So hope that's all right.
Of course.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, it is 4:33, so I think we will restart, and I will hand over to Aparajita, who is one of the current cohort of Early Career Research Fellows, who is based at Royal Botanic Gardens, Kew. Aparajita.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you for inviting me to participate in this event. So I'll be very brief. It's a 5-minute presentation. And of course, there is a possibility, if you have any questions specifically, we can address this at the end of the event. I'm a part-time fellow, so that answers some of the questions. And I'm based in Point 5 at the University of Kent, where I hold, I'm a lecturer in School of Humanities, and I am also Point 5, therefore, at Royal Botanic Gardens, Kew, which is where my research fellowship is currently ongoing. And the project is called Mediating Imperial Science, Economic Botany and Agrarian Ecology in Colonial South Asia. So why I bring this here is to basically introduce myself and the project, but also to say something which has been said before, but just to reiterate, is that one of the things I think great about this funding program is that it has allowed me, a traditionally trained historian, and historian sort of, focusing on 19th century British Empire, is to think about how my research can align with research priorities of independent research organizations, in this case, Kew. And in my project, I try to do this by essentially showing an historically informed analysis at the end of the project, is that how climate crisis and a loss of agrobiodiversity in South Asia can be understood from the point of view of 19th century interventions in the botany and the landscape and the agrarian regime of the region, and also how Indians shaped those processes to therefore essentially rethink a historical reinterpretation of the relationship between the colonizer and the colonized through the lens of botanical history, but also more immediately thinking about climate crisis in the region and sort of loss of biodiversity. So this is to say, this is a very important aspect of this project, is to think at the expression of interest stage with your chosen IRO, depending upon what your research interests are, is that how closely you can align your research with the priorities of the research organization. So that's something I found extremely useful, and I'll come to that in a moment, why I found it very useful. And because it allowed me to, as I said, to think outside box, to think about collections, to think about different kinds of archival sources beyond the traditional textual archive, and of course also thinking about that how historic research can actually inform contemporary issues, challenges. So essentially developing, if you will, as an early career researcher, skills which can be transported in different contexts. So thinking about if I'm thinking about transition of from higher education to something else, those kind of possibilities, if that's, and I think this fellowship, the way it has been designed, really makes that possible. So what I'm thinking, therefore, the project specifically, therefore, as I said before, will help us to sort of reformulate what we know about a relationship between a botanical empire, British interventions in agrarian regimes across British Empire, and the role of indigenous people in shaping those outcomes. And I think this is an important way to think about it, because as we know, Kew plays a very important role in conservation, contemporary conservation, and therefore to sort of provide them with this vital historic knowledge is to also shape that effort. So I think that way it has helped me to think about beyond my disciplinary boundaries as well as limitations. So again, I'm conscious of time here myself. So one of the ways I would think that the fellowship has been, I'm bang in the middle of the fellowship because part-time makes it 4 years. So I'm almost about to end my second year at the end of this year, and I will start the last 2 years. So it's a very good time to take stock of it. It has been a fantastic opportunity, and for a variety of reasons. One, I have been able to build new relationships and collaborative networks outside higher education sector, outside university. So it's fantastic with heritage organizations, with museums, with botanical collections, you name it. And I have really enjoyed those opportunities. As Eloise, Joe, and others have said previously, the package comes with possibilities of participating into professional growth and training. Again, very, very useful. Those of you who are thinking about part-time, it brings into a ring-fenced time to develop and deliver research, which as someone based in a university with teaching, research, supervision, and administrative duties, find it extraordinarily helpful. Opportunities to learn new skills and practices, for instance, impact-based activities, or activities which are basically outward-looking, not just sort of, aiming for higher education sector. And being part of a dynamic and responsive support system in which, of course, there is Joe and Ollie and Eloise from V&A, but there is also the fellows, other fellows, and, we work very closely with one another. And of course, all thinking about planning of future career trajectories and opportunities. As I said, the skills which I am picking up, including networks and collaborative support system, I am finding it incredibly useful to think about ways to become something different. I love being a historian, but at the same time, it has given me that possibility to start thinking that I could be something else if I want to be, and in that respect I found this fellowship has been proven to be extremely useful to me. So thank you once again, and I if you have any questions, please share it with me later. Thank you.
Aparajita, thank you so much. That was a great encapsulation of everything. Right, we've just got two final short presentations. So I'm going to hand over to Kim from Tate.
Hi everyone, I'm just going to share my screen, hopefully the correct one. Let me know if that's working. Thanks,
yep.
Eloise. So hi everyone, I'm Kim Balukiewicz and I'm the Research Grants Manager at Tate. Thank you to Joe, Eloise and the team for the chance to share a bit more information about Tate and our themes for this opportunity. So firstly, in case you don't know us, Tate is a world-leading visual arts organisation made up of 4 galleries, which is Tate Britain and Tate Modern in London, Tate Liverpool and Tate St Ives. Last year, we welcomed almost 6 million visitors in person across all our sites and 24 million online. It's our mission to care for and display the national collection of British art from the 16th century to the present day, as well as the national collection of international modern and contemporary art, totaling more than 76,000 works of art. And we additionally have hundreds of thousands more items across Tate Library and Tate Archive. So research at Tate involves a variety of disciplines, which include art history, conservation, heritage science, education and museology. Colleagues across Tate lead and partner on a range of national and international projects, fellowships, and we're also a collaborative doctoral partnership award holder. We have a vibrant research culture and we aim to develop and exchange knowledge equitably and ethically, engaging people within and beyond the academic sector, as well as Tate's existing audiences. So while all research at Tate falls into 4 overarching themes, which you can see here on the right side of the screen, our topics are incredibly diverse, from looking at climate sustainability in digital practice, to the challenges of producing culturally inclusive exhibition narratives in an age of identity politics. You can find out more about our overarching strategic research priorities, our networks, facilities, and our resources on our web pages, and we hope that you'll consider all of these as part of your proposals. For this specific opportunity, we've identified 4 priorities within which we would welcome proposals. They cover digital practice and new technologies, our early 20th century international collection, British art connections and networks, and British art history through a northern lens. I'll now speak in a little more detail to these, although do please note that I'm not a specialist in these themes, but I'm happy to take questions away post the presentation. So in digital practices and new technologies, we're interested in how cultural institutions are delivering XR experiences, both as tools for engagement and for learning, and how they broaden understanding of art. This is particularly for audiences with less cultural engagement. That's a particular area of interest for us. We would really welcome research considering audience appetite for these innovative experiences, both online and inside galleries, and how we might meet audience expectations using XR technology. We're also interested in gaming platforms and opportunities for deeper engagement and reaching new audiences through gaming and gamification of our offer, as well as finding ethical, transparent and trustworthy ways to embed AI into our work. Additionally, preserving space for analog experience is something that we're also looking into. So how might we safeguard slow-looking, lo-fi experiences of art and square this with engaging new audiences and audience expectations of bold and innovative contemporary 21st century art galleries such as Tate? Our second theme is has a focus on our international modern collection, where we'd welcome research proposals which challenge existing methodologies and dominant narratives of art histories in the earlier 20th century, and by that we mean between 1900 and 1950. The 2 areas of particular interest within this are interconnected art histories, transnational networks and circuits of exchange in the 20th century, and also works in our international modernist collection, which will support reinterpretation of an under-researched collection. The artworks within this collection in this early modernist period are really integral to our programming, as they're showcased across all 4 Tate sites, as well as featuring in touring collection exhibitions and made available for national and international borrowing. Our third theme is on British art connections. So together with the Paul Mellon Centre, Tate is the co-convener of the British Art Network, which is an interdisciplinary community fostering critical exchange in the theory and practice of British art curating. The British Art Network's position, which is poised between an academic and a public sector, provides us a unique opportunity to consider questions of globalisation, the national and international, state and independent sector, and through our 3,000 members will provide an exceptional range and diversity of perspectives. In this area, we welcome proposals that examine the impact of global perspectives on British art and the emerging internationalism of this network. Our final theme links to Tate Liverpool's 40th anniversary, which is coming up in 2028. So the gallery is currently undergoing a major capital redevelopment, which is an opportunity for us to reaffirm our commitment to Northern England and to re-examine British art history through a Northern lens. So we're interested in proposals that critically challenge and prevailing narratives of British art by positioning it from the North. We're particularly interested in hearing from researchers who have experience with undertaking oral history interviews with living artists, with expertise in British art history of the late 20th century, ideally a focus on Northern art histories in that case, expertise in art history and museology and/or curation, and also knowledge of the art sector across Northern England. That's all of our 4 themes. So thanks again for listening, and do get in touch if you'd like to discuss any of your ideas.
Kim, thank you very much. And so finally, I am going to talk about the V&A's priorities. And I hope, Eloise, can you see that? Yep, excellent. For those of you who don't know the V&A, we are a family of museums dedicated to the power of creativity. The first V&A, now in South Kensington, was founded in the 1850s, but since then we have grown, and but with our mission remaining the same, essentially. So that mission is to champion art, design, and creativity in all its forms for everyone. We tell that story of creativity over the past 5,000 years through our programming and through our collection of over 2.8 million objects that span pretty much every creative discipline. We have been for the past decade in a period of transition and expansion, and so you can see here the number of different V&As that form part of the family. South Kensington is still in many ways the mothership, but we have opened 2 new sites in London, Young V&A, which some of you might have known as the Museum of Childhood, which is in Bethnal Green and is now a museum very much focused on fostering childhood creativity. And then at the end of May this year, we opened the V&A East Storehouse, which is our store for the whole museum, the whole V&A, but it is very much designed as a public experience, revolutionising access to the collection. We open another museum next year, V&A East Museum, which will be in East London and focuses very much on making and why we make. Outside London, we are responsible for the V&A Wedgwood collection in Stoke-on-Trent, which is a fantastic industrial archive, collection and archive relating to the ceramics industry in that part of the country. And we are in a partnership with V&A Dundee. V&A Dundee is the one institution that has a separate governance model. And we work in partnership there with the 2 universities in Dundee, Dundee City Council and Creative Scotland. And I should say that for the purposes of this fellowship, V&A Dundee is the only member of the V&A family that cannot be the primary host for a fellow. It can be involved as a partner with other V&A sites, but it can't be the principal host. Our collections are really wide-ranging. These are the way that they're structured in terms of our different curatorial departments, but I'd really encourage you to explore the collections, which is our online database, but also to have a look at our archives and the National Art Library. We have really strong archives that relate not only to the museum's history, but also to theatre, art, design and theatrical performance. So many archives belonging of practitioners working within the design and the performing arts, and fantastic special collections, which I'll come back to. So our 4 priorities for the Early Career Research Fellowship scheme are as follows. So the first is research to drive the creative industries. The second is underrepresented histories of local and global practice. The third is the relationship between institutional and national histories. And the fourth is provenance research and colonial legacies in museum library collections. So I'll speak very briefly about each of those. The connection between the V&A and the creative industries has been there since its foundation. The museum was created to improve the quality of design in British manufacturing, and in a 21st century context, we're interested in how artistic and creative skills can be used to address contemporary and future societal or global challenges. Now, that's a very broad topic deliberately. What that might mean is how artists and designers are responding to challenges around sustainability. It might be about how they're using technology, AI, for example, to address particular challenges. But we're not just interested in the kind of really innovative and future-facing, if you like. We're also interested in traditional as well as contemporary technologies and making. We welcome practice-based research proposals, or we welcome proposals from researchers who wish to work in collaboration with design and craft practitioners as well. Also relating to histories of design, histories of making, we're really interested, as many of our colleagues are, in telling more inclusive, more representative histories of art, design and performance, and in research proposals that look at parts of our collection that perhaps have been more neglected than others have. I would really highlight the archives here. We have really rich archival resources that some of which have been investigated, but I would say there's a lot more to find out about. So please do have a look at our archive catalogue online. We're interested particularly in the local and global connections, so both the kind of hyper-local histories of making and innovation and how those relate to global heritage. For example, we're interested in East London with particular reference to V&A East. We're interested in telling new histories of Scottish design and innovation in relation to V&A Dundee. But really, we welcome other ideas as well. So please don't feel restricted to those. Our third priority is really thinking about how national museums like the V&A, through our collecting, our display methodologies, through our programming, have shaped narratives and understanding of British history. We've had quite a lot of research projects that have looked at this in the 19th century, but we have done much less on the 20th and up to the present day. So we're really interested in projects that look at that and can do so through a variety of mechanisms, particularly through our institutional archives and our photographs, but not only. And then finally, provenance and colonial legacies in museum library collections. So as I mentioned at the beginning, one of the collections within the museum is the National Art Library. It has really, really rich special collections, including very strong holdings in, for example, Islamic manuscripts, into which we have not done as much provenance research as we have done on our museum object collections. So we're interested in two particular areas here. We're interested firstly in provenance research, looking at particular parts of the National Art Library's collections and how we can engage different publics with those. But we're also interested in the questions of the knowledge structures that underpin those some of those colonial intellectual inequalities and how we can address those or redress them today. So if you want to find out more, I've given you some links. Please do have a look either at our, well, both at our collections websites, our archives, the National Art Library pages. If you're interested in finding out more about some of our current research projects and people, do have a look at the V&A Research Institute website. And please get in touch, whichever collection or site or collections and sites you might be interested in. As a V&A Research Institute team, we work across all sites and we will connect people as appropriate. And it is our colleague, Ollie Cox, who is going to be responding to queries. So please do email him at that address, CC it to our general inquiries for the V&A Research Institute so that we can make sure we're capturing everything. And please do get in touch. We're really keen to discuss any ideas that potential applicants might have. So that's all of us. We have about 5 minutes for any final questions. I think everything in the chat has been answered. But can I just ask if there is any final questions before we draw to a close? No. In that case, just to recap on a couple of points. So we will be sharing the recording and the presentations from this town hall, from last Thursday's town hall, and as I said, we've got 2 more coming up, which you're very welcome to sign up for. So do keep an eye on the funding finder, and that's where the information will be updated. Please do get in touch. You've got contact details on the funding finder if you want to get in touch with any specific IRO. They will be very open to fielding queries, and even if you're not sure that they're the right organisation, get in touch and they'll just say if they're not. So please don't be shy about getting in touch. As I say, we will be putting together a Q&A document that captures the most commonly asked questions and hopefully gives some clarity on those responses. But please do get in touch if you think of other things that that you'd like to ask. And I think otherwise, Eloise.
I've just seen we do have one final question, if that's okay. It's just
popped
popped up in the saying, is there a set stipend or salary for the fellowships?
I think the short answer is no, but Andrea.
Yes, we've not set a limit in terms of the actual individual fellowship. There is a limit on the amount of funding that AHRC can provide, so it's really down to the applicant and the IRO host to determine how much it is that they would like to apply for. Yeah,
thank you very much, Andrea. And huge thanks again to colleagues, to Andrea, Emma, Kim, Jack, Charlotte, and Aparajita, and to Eloise for organising us all. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for all your brilliant questions, and please do keep in touch.